Ooh, welcome in the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter. And I'm joined as always by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Vols on Twitter. What are you up to, you big Tennessee homer?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Oh, man, I'm doing great because we got one of my absolute favorites on the show, Shane, Mr. Tony Basilio. That's a name that every Tennessee fan knows, and hell, I think my dad likes Tony more than he likes me, you know what?
If he could only rename you, Mike, you know? TJ, Tony Jr., I can see it. It had a good ring to it. No, I love Tony. I've followed him for a long, long time. This is a fantastic interview, Mike. No spoiling here. You guys are going to hear it soon. But, you know, to take you back, one of the best things about Tony's show is, and he hints on it, is when things aren't going so well. You know, that's what he's there for. He's got a good ear, and some of the best clips I've ever heard from raging Vol fans was to the Tony show. So yeah, this is awesome.
And Shane, this is the God's honest truth. It's one of those deals. He wanted to do it in the morning because he's got a show in the afternoon. Yeah. You know, I typically record in the afternoons, but when someone like Tony Basilio says, "Well, I can only do the mornings," then it's, by God, I'm getting up in the morning to get it done. I set my alarm, and it was one of those nights, Shane, where like every couple hours I'd wake up and be like, "Oh God, I overslept my alarm," and it's 3 hours before it goes off. You know, so I didn't get much sleep, and man, I am on fumes over here, but I still got that buzz from that Tony Basilio interview that I had this morning.
Yeah, you're like that Pate Kirby interview, you know. It's like, oh, damn, did I miss it?
So let's get on with it, Shane. And I got a fun idea for this episode. Going to be able to hit on all 14 SEC teams. But before we do that, I texted it to you. I know you were busy at work. I don't know if you got to see it. Another plug for the YouTube, because this will make a hell of a lot more sense if you're watching on YouTube. But Jacksonville Jaguars, their new stadium, they have renderings of what this bad boy is going to look like. I'm going to throw it up here. And it's not even so much the Jacksonville part, but they have went that extra step, Shane, and they have showed a rendering of what it looks like with Florida and Georgia fans filling that bad boy up to capacity, split one side each. I mean, it looks beautiful. The only problem, Shane, and I've seen a lot of this, apparently it's going to have a roof, and I think it's going to be a glass roof. But man, some college fans are just, let's be done with this neutral site crap and these brand new spanking stadiums. I mean, it will be a sight to behold, but I don't know if we keep it in this venue long term. What's your thoughts?
I don't know, man. I mean, this is the first start for the push, you know. I mean, this is one of our concerns was when they were remodeling this thing or renovating, getting to the new stadium, that potentially we're going to lose this, you know, Florida-Georgia line game, you know. And I don't know. I think this is a sign that they're really going to fight like hell to keep it, you know. So I guess you just got to ask yourself, what do you want? I think me and Mike, we're more of a home and home kind of guy. But if they're going to fight, I mean, the stadium looked pretty. I get it. You know, I mean, it looked futuristic. It looked like every Marvel movie when they go and like the Hulk's out there fighting, and then they pan to the crowd, and you're like, okay, this is the Jacksonville Jaguars stadium. Okay, I get it. That's kind of what it felt like. But again, I think this is a first sign for us to let them know that, hey, we're still going to try to keep this game in Jacksonville.
Yeah. Well, that's a great way to say it, Shane. But, on with the show topic, because I think we can sit here and just debate this all night long. But what I got lined up for us, Shane, Circa Sports, one of the best out there, based out of Las Vegas. This is a legitimate sports book. They don't cap you like a lot of these sites on how much you can wager. They have, I think, the best sports book in Las Vegas. They have officially released, Shane, SEC over-under win total. So these are a little bit different than the ones that we have seen before. So I just wanted to run through these. And then at the very end, I got a little surprise for you too. So how's that sound? Just recapping the latest, greatest over-under win totals.
No, I think this is awesome, Mike. A little different perspective because some of you were a little leery to bet earlier. Now you may be like, hey, now's the time to get that money in.
So let's go just in alphabetical order. Shane, Alabama, over-under 10. So again, man, that is a little bit more enticing.
I think even 10?
Yes, an even 10,
okay.
where I think it opened at 10.5. So that's been bet down a little bit now. Now I'm starting to like Alabama because that when you're betting under that, I mean that's 9-3. Surely to God, they're going to lose 3 regular. And again, this is just regular season. Don't count bowl game. Doesn't count SEC championship. This is the 12 regular season. They going to lose 3 of them? Even someone like me is not bold enough to say that,
See, look here, Bama fans. Look at Mike. He was playing the long game. He doesn't hate your program. He's just been shitting on him on national media, just to bring down that betting so he can put some money on it. So, yeah, you sit there at 10. You're telling me Alabama's going to lose 3 games? Nah, I like this, Mike. This is a good bet for me.
Yeah. All right, how about Arkansas, Shane? I think this number has remained the same, 6.5 over-under win total for the Razorbacks, 6.5. And I know the Arkansas man in you is saying, smash that over.
Yeah. What is this, the first half of the season? No. Absolutely, man. How can you not want the over here? You're talking barely bowl eligible. Have you seen the Razorbacks lately? Have you seen their schedule? I can find plenty of wins on there. Give me the over.
Right. And then here's another one, Shay, that has moved a little bit here. Auburn up to 7. Debuted, I believe, 6.5. So people buying in to the Hugh Freeze and what he's doing there year 1. I liked it at 6.5. I still like it at 7. Obviously liked it a little bit better at 6.5. But, hey, I'm on record, Shane. 8-4 I think is very realistic for them Tigers.
Yeah, I don't think it moved the right way for me, Mike. This became a no bet just because there's so many question marks. I know we've got a lot of transfers coming in and it looks good on paper, but until we see it on the field, I am just very leery on betting on them. I was leery when it was at 6.5 you said, so I'm definitely not touching it at 7.
Right, because now essentially they have to go 8-4 to hit that over.
Yeah.
And that was my bold pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You got a lot of shit over that one, too.
Now, this shade I cannot believe. Maybe it's not moved, but I feel like it's moved slightly, or at least I thought it would move up, just given the brand. But the Florida Gators, Shay, never in my life can I recall 5.5 being the over-under win total. Again, I think that's what it was, but I anticipated that it would get pushed up, but clearly the money has not come in on the Gators. So, man, that's a scary sign if you're a Billy Napier supporter.
Yeah, Vegas. I mean, that's been the storyline that nobody wants to cover, that nobody wants to talk about. Is just everybody is on the Florida Gators and staying away from it. I don't know, Mike. I mean, you're talking about, did they got some tough non-conference games? Sure. But I think you're saying, can the Florida Gators make a bowl? I think they can. I think they can this year. But but still, I don't know, man. Just it's like everybody telling you not to do something. You're like, well, maybe I shouldn't do it, For the whole time, I've been like, yeah, definitely, I'm hammering the over. But now we're getting to a point like, are they trying to tell me something? So I don't know. But I still going to go the over. But I am a little – maybe I don't put as much money on it.
And I really think, Shane, that if there's one team out there, Shane, that's kind of laying in the weeds, that can use all this trash as negativity to fuel them this offseason, there's no better candidate than the Florida Gators. Because, we are saying it's going to be a tough road, but, they got plenty of talent. It's just it's unknown, and particularly at quarterback. So that kind of downgrades the entire roster, fair or not. But who knows? Maybe Billy Napier works his magic, and all they got to do is steal one game, and they're hitting that over.
I'm glad you said it, Mike, because it feels like they're basically telling you that Florida is not going to upset anyone. Florida is going to lose all their 50-50 games. That's kind of what you're getting here. And if you feel like they can win one of those or pull off an upset on a top 25 program, then this should be no question you're putting money on it. But that's what it feels like to me. They just have no confidence for an upset here.
All right, Georgia, Shane, this number has remained the same. No one's touching it,
13.
11.5. So basically you're just betting on a perfect season or if Georgia loses on Rocky Top. I mean, that's basically what you're betting because they're going to probably beat the hell out of everybody they face. And again, Tennessee is the only one that is, at least currently, not a double-digit point spread, and it's pushing it. It's like 8.5 right now.
Well, you had Rusty on the other day, and I guess part of me, as I want to be confident, I want to say the Georgia Bulldogs run the table, but then, he took me down memory lane and reminded me of some of these games that they kind of struggled in. And you're not saying that Georgia can't win it all and they can't win a national championship. You're just asking, can they be perfect every single week? And is there anybody that can upset them? So I don't know, man. It's tough. That's a tough one it just doesn't happen. How often does it happen in the SEC? There's been many years we said, oh, Bama's going to run the table, and then they lose a game. So, this one's a tough bet for me, Mike.
And a lot of times, Shane, the preseason number one, with a stacked roster, everybody's telling them they're going to beat the shit out of everybody. They're going to win it all. Sometimes they need that loss. Yeah. And then it locks them in. We all remember the Tebow promise, lost to Ole Miss, and then he said, I promise you, we'll not lose another one. They went on to win the national championship. So, losing to a Tennessee, to a Ole Miss, Auburn, I mean, that would be devastating that week. But if it ignites your team and you go on to win a national championship, no one will ever even remember that damn game you lost.
That's the truth, Mike. And there are other factors. I mean, we've already crowned Beck as the next guy to step up, but he's no mailman. He's not been in those situations. And what does he do if his back's against the ropes in Mizzou and it's down to the final quarter? So we don't know. So I think he can get there, and I don't think Georgia's going to get in that situation, but perfect run, that's a tough bet, Mike.
All right, how about Kentucky at 7? I love this one. Give me the over on the Wildcats.
Yeah, this tells – we do this every June, Mike. I even got my blue shirt on. So it's like, I've got to start betting on Kentucky, right? It's time. So, and every time I talk to you, I think you just make me more confident, which they're probably like, oh, shit, Shane, don't bet on us,
Well, this is the classic betting on brands. And if you're not a Kentucky fan, if you're not a diehard SEC, you just say, little old Kentucky, they suck, but under. But you're sleeping on them if you're thinking that.
This ain't your Papaw's Wildcats, buddy.
LSU, Shane, same number, 9.5. I'm stunned it's not moved up. I think the only reason is play at Bama, play Florida State in the opener. So a lot of people are looking at like, those are 50-50 at best, even though I wouldn't totally agree. So that gives your margin of error 0 the rest of the way. But I'm pretty stunned, 9.5 for a team that I think is capable of winning the national championship.
When do they play Georgia?
In Atlanta.
Yeah, so I'm probably going to go over here, Mike. I mean, you can make the argument, okay, Alabama, maybe even Texas A&M, but you're saying 3? It's almost a similar conversation we just had with Bama. I think there's going to be some losses to be had, but you're talking about 3, and I'm not seeing it right now. So yeah, give me the over.
All right, how about Ole Miss 7, Shane? This is another one that I could see it because they do catch Georgia. They obviously play the West Gauntlet and Georgia. So, that's a murderer's row. It's not going to be easy, but it seems like all Lane Kiffin does is surprise us. Of course, he didn't at the tail end of last season. But besides that, he's overshot expectations about every season there.
Yeah, it feels like a different Ole Miss team too, man. It felt like we knew they weren't as good as they were acting the first few months, It feels opposite. It feels like we're in a better spot this season, and they don't have that early predicted 6-0 run that they're going to have. They're going to have a tough fought season. And how can I say that my bold take, Ole Miss potentially going and beating Georgia, and not say over on this thing. So calm down, Georgia. It was a bold take. I'm just reminding you. Sometimes I say dumb stuff when I'm drinking. But I like the over here, Mike, because I do think Ole Miss is a better team. I think Dart's a better quarterback. And by God, they got the best running back in the country.
How about Mississippi State, Shane, at 6?
Arkansas's already turned off, right? I'm glad we got them out first. They got their score. They moved on. And then as soon as they hit LSU, they're like, I'm out of here. So now we can brag about Ole Miss's running back.
Mississippi State at 6, Shane, and Zach Arnett's debut. They do get 8 home games. That's something a lot of people point to. I think that's a school record. But, yeah, I don't know. 6, I mean – I think they have besides Georgia and Alabama, I think they have the longest bowl streak in the SEC. So I guess we can't push, but I don't think the wheels are going to come off this team after winning 9 last year.
No, but expectations have been lowered. This is more of a gut check. If you're a Mississippi State homer and you're looking at that record, or maybe even who knows? That's the thing. Sometimes you may be more dialed in with your program than we are, and if you feel like Shane and Mike are idiots, there's no way that Mississippi State doesn't easily hit a bowl game, well then put your money on them Bulldogs. But Mike, me again, similar to Auburn, too much question marks, too many holes right there. I'm just afraid to put a lot of money on it. I do like the over. I'm leaning the over, but I'm not putting a mortgage payment on it.
Right. How about your Missouri Tigers, Shane, at
over.
6?
I don't care what number you throw out. Give me over.
I mean, how disrespectful is that? 6. Hell, we think they might be 6-0. You know what?
Shit, they're gonna hold teams to 6 points sometimes. You know, I mean, this defense is legit, brother. And I'm putting you guys up. I swear, I'm gonna delete every pod I've ever mentioned Mizzou if you fail me. But this is my buy-in team right here, Mike. Give me over big time.
And another one, people were pretty surprised when the number came out. It has not shifted. South Carolina, 6. Again, they've got a murderer's row. Very tough non-conference, and, of course, the SEC slate. So, man, I'm just curious. I wonder if South Carolina – I know they don't give a damn. They don't give a damn what these Vegas numbers say, but I wonder if that has tempered expectations at all. I would assume probably not.
Yeah, no, they're lining up the parade. They've already rented a VRBO down there in Atlanta for the SEC championship. But that's the kind of buy-in Gamecock fans have, and I think that's important because regardless of the record, they're still going to show up on Saturday. They're still going to make some noise. That's why I'm leaning the over, because there's going to be a lot of home field advantage played up there in Columbia. So give me the over here with the Gamecocks.
And then Tennessee, Shane, 9. I think it was 9.5. So this may have been bet down to 9. That's a tough number because you got to go 10-2 to go over. Can the Vols go over 9?
Yeah, of course we can, man. I mean, did you not see us beat Alabama last year, Mike? And now we got a bigger, better quarterback? Jeez. Just kidding, Hendon. I love you, baby. I love you. I'm buying into Milton. I know a lot of people are questioning him and if he's going to be the guy. I think he's the guy. I think he's the alpha dog. He's got the team behind him. They got the players around him. So this is still going to be the most electric offense in the country, and I think the defense is better improved. So, yes, give me the over. Sorry, I know your time's running out. I could talk Tennessee all day. You know that.
Yeah, we're going to talk more with
Tony Basilio. You can tell I just walked. I'm so amped up,
How about A&M, Shane? 8.5. This is the biggest wild card. This is a stay away from me. I could see him smash the over. I could see him smashing the under. I just have no confidence one way or another to put money on the Aggies.
I'm smash the over. But then I have the reserve because I have questions, I have concerns. Yeah. I'm just afraid to put a lot of money on this. But it would not blow my mind if Texas A&M doesn't just like kill the over here.
All right, Vanderbilt 4. Again, I don't understand similar deal with Kentucky. I'm not comparing the two necessarily, even though they did beat Kentucky. But I think this is just completely looking at the brand, not looking at the rebuild. 4, that seems disrespectful.
Mike. They may have 4 before November here. So give me the over. I love Vanderbilt. I think this is a team that is on the rise. Upset a few SEC opponents last year. Let's not forget. So they got some dudes out there, and I like the over.
Now, last thing I wanted to hit on, Shane, before we get to this Tony Basilio interview real quick. I went through – this took a lot more longer than it probably should. I'm not good at numbers and counting at all this, but I went through every SEC team's schedule, and I counted their opponents over and under and combined them all. So, like everyone Tennessee plays versus everybody Florida plays. Does that make sense?
Yes, gotcha.
I counted that all up, and I was kind of stunned, Shane. Who do you think has the toughest schedule? And maybe this is not the best metric for tough schedules, but who has the highest number, essentially, of teams they're playing have the highest combined over-under win total?
Florida Gators.
You're very close, but it's the Mizzou Tigers. How about that, Shane? 81.5, the combined over-under win total for Mizzou's opponents. That was pretty surprising, but like I said, you were right there. 81, so just a half under is Florida and Alabama. So Alabama and Florida going through a gauntlet this season.
Who's the least? Did you do the least?
Oh, well, you don't even have to guess, do you? Who's got the weakest schedule?
Who's got the weakest schedule? Kentucky? No, they got Alabama.
You know, we all know. We all know. We've been talking about it for 9 months. What a joke their schedule is. Georgia Bulldogs, and it's not even close. Of course, they don't have to play themselves.
Yeah, well,
good
point.
Yeah, you always want to skip to the end here. So LSU and Ole Miss, their number's 78, so just below Alabama and Florida. Auburn, 76.5. South Carolina, 75.5. Vanderbilt, 75. Kentucky, Mississippi State, and A&M, 74.5. Tennessee, 74, so third weakest schedule. You got to like that. Arkansas finally catching a break with 71. And then Georgia all the way down here with 64.5 over-under win total. So, yeah, it's not even
remove
close.
Them. I get what you're saying. And your silly math. You get on with Bartu one time, and you got to throw numbers out here like this, like Rain Man, counting toothpicks, Yeah,
so take that for what it's worth. I don't know if that's a great metric or not, but I just thought it was.
I like it. I like your numbers. I just want to. I appreciate your hard work on putting that together, Mike. And no one's going to fact check you. I'm just agreed with you. Like, oh yeah, okay, I get it.
But all right, buddy, let's kick it over to our interview with the man Tony Basilio. All right, this is always one of my favorite episodes we do. The man himself, Mr. Tony Basilio. I kid you not, Tony, it don't matter who I have on here. If I got a coach, I got Paul Feinbaum. I got CEOs of multi-million-dollar companies. My dad never gets more proud of me than when I have Tony Basilio on the show. Thank you so much for making the time, Tony.
Well, there's a reason for that. Your father is a man of exquisite taste. And obviously a very, very bright human being. So my compliments to him today.
So, Tony, let me get your thoughts. You had me on your show about a week ago, and we were, breaking down this SEC scheduling, and you couldn't believe that the SEC, after all this talk, we've been talking about this for 2 damn years, the SEC was going to stay at 8. Here we go a week or so later. It's been confirmed. They're going to stay at 8. What's your immediate thoughts to all that?
Well, the first thing I do is tip my hat to you because you were talking about something nobody else was, Michael Bratton. And that does not go unnoticed by this living fan. That's number one. There weren't a lot of people in your space. Nobody, in fact, was saying, hey, when they convene here in a couple of weeks, they're going to go to an 8-game model, and Alabama's blocking it. You were the first. So I'm giving you incredible credit for unearthing that. Secondly, this is a league and always has been a league dominated by Alabama. The fact that Oklahoma and Texas didn't get a vote in this deal probably swings what could have or should have or would have happened. That this league continues to be one of the only power conferences. This year, there's 14 teams in it. I keep losing track, but there's 14 officially, right?
Right.
Only 2 of the 14 don't have at least two non-Power 5 games on a schedule. I mean, there is a lot of backslapping in this league. There's a lot of bravado and talk. But when it gets down to scheduling, there's just not a lot of there. And we need to call it what it is as SEC fans. Look, I love the SEC. I love the passion. I love the fans. I love the level of play. I love the commitment to excellence. So why is it not there in scheduling? How can you have a 14-team league next year, 16-team league, I'm sorry, and play 8 league games? And then you want to tell me it means more? But you were the first guy. I'll tell you this, Mike. When you come on the air and you said that, and it was roughly 11 days before they dropped what they dropped, people said to me, that's not real. This guy's lying. That can't be real. I had some vitriolic hate emails I can show you from some people saying, you're just flaming people for no reason. You're gaslighting people for no reason. And those same folks came back and said, I'm sorry. I never dreamed in a million years they would do this. It's embarrassing. And here's the thing. A lot of SEC fans live in cross footprints with other leagues, and they have to defend their league. Mm-hmm. And you can't defend this. You can't defend this.
Well, I just think, Nick Saban, you got to be careful what you wish for, because, again, this is another thing that I said on your show, and this is true. If we stay at 8, the team I think that benefits the most is Tennessee, because what you're essentially doing is you're likely dropping Alabama and you're likely dropping Georgia from the annual schedule. Now, you'll still play them every other year, so it's not like Tennessee will get some cakewalk, but their annual opponent's going to be Vanderbilt. That's not fair to the rest of the SEC, so just be careful what you wish for. I mean, but I think I know why Heupel probably was leaning towards the 8, because he had that information on hand as well. But let's go to the team this year, Tony, because I heard you recently on, I think it was the George Plaster show, great show out of Nashville, and they were hyping up Nico, and they wanted to get your thoughts on Nico, and you were really touting him. I know so many people, when they talk about Tennessee this offseason, in their minds, the game's not this simple, but to a lot of people it is. How high can Joe Milton take his team? So I guess that's a two-parter for you. How high can Joe Milton take his team? And what are you hearing, Tony, the voice of the common fan that's so well connected, one of the best connected in all the SEC? What's the inner dialogue on what they've got in this Nico kid?
Well, first of all, Joe Milton's a mystery, Joe Milton's got that tremendously strong arm, which makes him a natural curiosity. It makes him a perfect pitch man. The other thing Joe Milton's got going for him is you can't judge a book by its cover. And, so many times in sports we see this because his outward appearance doesn't project a guy who's a pretty serious person. Joe Milton's had a tale of 2 runs here in Knoxville. His first opportunity to play quarterback here, the last time he was seen before he seated for Hendon Hooker, was him running out of bounds on 4th down. Now, I got to tell you, that's something that not a lot of people come back from. Joe Milton, behind the scenes, once that happened, and he was heading on a path like a Rolling Stone quarterback who matriculated from Michigan to here. The thought was, because this is what we're used to in the modern era, the thought was, he'll end up transferring once this is over. No. Not only did he not transfer, he became a team leader. He became best friends with Hendon Hooker. He became a guy that would cook for all his teammates. And they started having, community meals over at his place. And apparently he's quite the chef and this, that, and the other. Well, Joe Milton's a team leader. The kids love Joe Milton. Last year when Hooker got hurt, the conventional wisdom went, oh man, there goes the season. They're going to draw somebody pretty good in a bowl game and get smoked because he can't play.
Yeah.
And I got to be honest with you. I didn't think he could play. I mean, and people say, well, and on the air, I was kind of saying that. I just doubt this guy could play. Now, here's where I am with Joe Milton right now. To quote the great Dennis Green, some people are wanting to crown him. I'm not. One bowl game against Clemson does not a season make. And you've got to be able at this level to do it consistently, to consistently make the throws, to consistently make the reads, to consistently make the good decisions, consistently make winning plays. Can he do that over what for Tennessee will be a okay schedule? It's not the hardest in the world, but it's not the easiest either. Can he do that over the span of a season to a point where Tennessee can perform? Like I saw, and I put it in my blog today over at tclub.team. If you want to check our stuff out, it's tclub.team. I saw where Circa has Tennessee's number. It was 9.5. It's been bet down to 9 in terms of win total on the year. 9 sounds about right to me. And if Tennessee wins 9 games after losing Hooker, after losing the Blitnikoff Award winner, after losing everything they lost off last year's team, this is kind of a tweener year for the Vols. That'd be a hell of a job. People don't want to hear that. People here think, oh, well, 10, 11, you know, and look, that's all good. I mean, I'm for that. Don't get me wrong. In terms of Nico, the second part of your question, Mike, again, can't judge a book by its cover. Nico was the kid with the sunglasses on indoors when he came on his official visit, brought a posse of like 500,000 people with him. Tennessee paid for it. Had a chartered plane where he came and played a flag football game locally in Farragut, and like 25 of his teammates got out of it. I mean, tell me how many times you've ever heard of a kid bringing 25 people across the country on a jet to play flag football. I think that's a little excessive. At any rate, Nico, since he's been here, has been deferential to the other quarterbacks, even a couple of the guys who are like guys that are never going to play, third, fourth, fifth string guys. He's been the first guy to meetings, the last guy to leave. He's been extremely humble. And look, he's a big money player. I mean, Tennessee gave him a life-changing opportunity to come here. And he hasn't behaved like a diva, which I've got to tell you, Mike, everything on the front end said that he was going to. And then he got on the field in December. I'll tell you a quick story. Buddy of mine's been over there forever, who's helped me out with some information. He said somebody came at the day after his, I think it was the second practice, because they had him out there running like scout team stuff, just kind of getting his feet wet, you know, whatever. Throw him in, see what happens. Guy said somebody knocked on his door and said, man, you got to come down to practice tomorrow. You got to see this. What do you mean? You just got to come see this. You just got to. He said, I walked out there. He said, this guy is firing the ball around, just like he said, in his feet, and he's just making plays. And he doesn't know what he's doing, but he's just out there just, you know, running around making plays. He said to me, he said, this guy, if he studies it, is going to be freak show good. So that's the word on Nico. Going to be freak show good if he studies it, which I think he's studying it. Mm-hmm. I think he's pretty humble.
Do you think he'll be too good to keep off the field? And when I say that, I'm not sitting here saying bench Joe Milton, because I think that'd be foolish, because like you just alluded to, I mean, he's still learning. You're not going to win at a high level in the SEC throwing that quarterback on the field day one, but maybe as much as they possibly can, get him into the fourth quarter. Just like they kind of did Tua at Alabama. I know they're different players, but Tua played a lot as a freshman And it was just immediate. You saw, I mean, Jalen Hurts was a good player, but people were shaking their head. How do we have this guy on the bench? And obviously that switched in the national championship game. Do you think we'll see Nico as much as possible on the field this fall?
Well, you're trying to drag me into something here, aren't you, man? I really appreciate you doing that. Since I'm somebody that answers questions, I would venture to guess they'll find ways to introduce him this fall. I would venture to guess that they will.
Yeah.
I don't know what that would look like. Heupel's pretty innovative. And if Milton has the kind of year that he thinks and some people think he can, I'm still not sure of that. But if he does, they're going to blow a bunch of people out with that offense, and that kid should get ample opportunity to play. If you're asking me, is he going to overtake Milton eventually? Boy, they hope not.
Right. If that happens, that means, in my mind, they've not had a good season, to be honest.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
Now, I hate to bring up a bad memory here, but the defense in that South Carolina game, that is just imprinted in Vol fans' minds. So much so, Tony, that they overlooked that, they just dominated Kentucky. They made, in my mind, Will Levis lost a first-round pick that night because he was so awful. I think the defense won them the LSU game. You can make the case defense won them the Pitt game, which was a pivotal game. The defense had many moments last year. What's your confidence level that a performance like South Carolina will not happen this year to a Vol defense that I think is still, I think it's more talented, overall, deeper. You know, they inherited just an awful mess. And I thought they were respectable year one. I thought they got better year two, aside from that South Carolina performance. What's your confidence level that we won't have a disastrous performance in the SEC like that again?
Well, South Carolina watched the film, first of all, because you're going to attack Tennessee secondary, attack them. Have at it. Last season. They've got some young reinforcements coming now. They've really focused their efforts on defense. You know, with Heupel, I thought this guy's an offensive mastermind. They're going to collect offensive pieces. Defense be damned. It's been almost the opposite. A lot of their loud hits in recruiting last year's class this year so far have come on the defensive side now. It isn't to say they're not having their offensive moments. They're in line to get two of the best wide receivers in the country, one of whom hails from Georgia. So they're doing good things. In terms of Tennessee's defense this year, how quickly will the young guys be introduced? Because they've got a bunch of old heads back there that can't run.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, because I'm one of them. I'm an old head that can't run. But I couldn't run when I was young.
Right.
So it takes a slow guy to know a slow guy. They have some guys that can't run at the Division I level. And as you say, they were indicative of a spot you find yourself in when you're in a transition, as Tennessee was. Some of their talented guys walked out the door defensively in the midst of that scandal that occurred here. And so this thing, you were left with what you were left with to play. For them to take that defensive level of talent last year and have the season they did, the South Carolina game notwithstanding, is remarkable coaching. It's incredible coaching. And so I think the defense this year probably is going to be uneven at times. Still not there yet. Next year and the year after that will be when Tennessee throws what I would consider a moving toward the upper tier defense in this league, whatever that means these days, Mike, because nobody punts a football anymore.
Right.
And everybody plays bend but don't break, and everybody gives up 400 or 500 yards. It looks like the old Big 12 from 20 years ago. What's happened in this league now? Yeah. So, even Alabama's defense looks that way. So, I think Tennessee this year will have a tweener type defense in a year that, for for those reasons, is probably going to be like a little bit of a tweener year, which people don't want to hear again. The Circa number now is 9, the win total, which sounds about right to me. I mean, you can make the case they'll win 8. You can make the case they'll win 9. Winning 10 will be very good. People say, well, Alabama's not. I'm like, Alabama's not what they were 5 years ago, but they're still pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So there is that.
Speaking of Alabama, I definitely wanted to ask you this because you are the voice of the fan. You're more plugged into that fan base than anybody. I mean, just what was that like for those fans calling into your show?
Oh, man.
Last fall when Tennessee beat Alabama. First of all, how many hours were you on? I got to imagine you were on for about 12 hours.
We were on for, I'm trying to remember, when did that game start? I think that was a 3:30 start.
Yep, it ended about 10 o'clock at night, it felt like.
Yeah.
I know it was dark out. I know it was dark out when it was done.
Was that a night game? We were on 7.5 hours. We may have gone till like 3:30, 4 o'clock Eastern time. And again, my website is tclub.team if folks want to check that out. I'm doing baseball post-game stuff after Tennessee baseball games during the postseason here. And I'll tell you, this fan base is kind of incredible because the other day we did a football game like number after a baseball game, which just goes to show you that this fan base has a lot of pride in their Tennessee Volunteers across several different sports. And Mike, I'm just so built by God to do what I do. I just love people. And when I'm not doing my show, I play a lot of live music. So I play music. I'm I guess a musician. I don't know. I use that term loosely, but I play a lot of live music as well. And I just enjoy community. I enjoy being around people. And that's what we try and do, man. And people tell me on our post-game stuff, they say, man, the great wins are really, really fun. And then from opposing fan bases I get, hey, when the Vols lose, I can't wait to turn your thing on. And just hear people just, melt down. Because this fan base is pretty damn good at the high highs, and they're pretty damn good at the low lows. If you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean, but I really wanted to ask you this too. So they beat Alabama last year, fell short against Georgia, but obviously those flip-flop this year. Georgia's in Neyland late in the season, on the road at Alabama. Which game do you think is more realistic that Tennessee wins this season? Because I would argue, personally, even though it's on the road, I think it's Alabama still. I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Well, when Alabama made their move with their quarterback, bringing that kid from Notre Dame, and people can spin that all they want. Well, Reese really didn't like him, and well, he's on your roster. He's on your roster for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
You show me a team right now in this league in college football that probably doesn't really know who their quarterback is in June. And I'll tell you that's a team that's gettable. Now, again, we have fans that are like literally grabbing a pen and putting W next to that game. I'm not one of them. But of those two games, Georgia, we have to all be honest here. Georgia, Kirby Smart, though he cuts his hair with a Flowbee. Young kids, look up what a Flowbee is. Or, at the very least, goes to Sports Clips. Here's a man making $9 million. I mean, go get your haircut. Get a decent haircut, dude. It's total world domination. It is total. When David Pollock looked right over there at Nick Saban and urinated all over his driveway, because that's what that is. And looking at that man on national television and looking him right in the eye and saying, Georgia is the gold standard. What was his quote? Do you remember? Was it Georgia is the gold? What was the quote? They own college football. Whatever it was, Saban looked even more like he had bitten onto a bitter apple, more than he usually does. He looked more dour and depressing than he usually does once that happened.
I mean, 5 years ago, he would have jumped on Pollock. You know what?
No question. It would have choked him out. How dare you say that? We dominate college football.
All right, last thing for you, Tony. Really appreciate all your time.
I love you, man.
Any Vols standing out based on what you're hearing? Maybe young players, maybe veterans that have not yet made an impact. Just any players at all, any positions that stand out that will potentially be household names by the end of the season. Because we know with this Josh Heupel offense, I mean, guys are going to emerge. I think Tennessee's probably got the best system and the best play caller in the country right now. And as long as Heupel's there, they're gonna produce high, big time numbers on that offense.
Well, Selden's one of them, and they've got some guys that they really feel like are going to emerge. The question is, how long till these guys get acclimated? Look, the receiving core is gone. It's decimated. The issue, though, with Tennessee is, and what you'll find, one of the great mysteries is, what happened last year with those guys, with both of the draft picks that blew up? With Tillman, and then with your eventual Blitnikoff Award winner, which probably wouldn't have happened if Tillman would have stayed healthy. Mm-hmm. Would that have occurred under a different coaching staff for those guys? The answer is wholeheartedly no. Would those guys be thought of the way they're thought of and drafted as highly into the NFL? The answer is wholeheartedly no. What Tennessee has is they've got a group of young playmakers on their receiving core that they feel very, very, very good about. And they feel like there's some kids over there that are really going to make an impact probably right away. That's why I call this year a tweener year, because I think Tennessee fans are going to see a tantalizing glimpse of the future while they're looking at the present, which I find one of the magical things about college football, because you've got those veteran players and then you've got those kids. And you talked before about how, I mean, if you think about it through the lens of time now, Alabama could not wait to run Jalen Hurts off. Think about that. Jalen Hurts, top 5 player in the NFL right now. They could not wait to run him off and get to their young quarterback. And I think Tennessee is going to see some tantalizing things from a bunch of young guys this fall, quite frankly, before it's over. I think they feel really good about their recruiting class and then what's there in terms of some young guys to watch. Keaton's obviously going to be a guy that's got a chance to break out this year. And there are several of them with him.
Yeah, and to your point about Tillman, I believe he had 7 catches in 3 seasons, and then Heupel comes and turns him into all SEC NFL prospect. I mean, it's incredible. But before you go, Tony, tell the audience, best place to find all your work.
So my website is tclub.team. Again, tclub.team. And we just do it every day. Like today was an 1,800-word blog up. And I blog every day. We have contributors that help me. We do a post-game show for every football game, every basketball game, some baseball games. And then we have a saying around here, when news breaks out, we break in. If something big happens, if you've got, for instance, an assistant football coach driving down our main thoroughfare backward, exposed, and he gets arrested by the police, we will be on the air talking about it. That actually happened here back in the 90s. So imagine waking up and reading that in your newspaper. That actually happened out here on Kingston Pike. We had Carly Simon said those were the good old days. So in anticipation, which I guess leads me to this, Mike. You know, this Heupel guy is so good. Mm-hmm. They have such a family-oriented deal. is so good that I keep saying to myself, this can't be real. Because for forever, our saying around here was, we can't have nice things. And this guy is so good. And he's such a normal dude. He's like he is such a departure from that goofball Pruitt. It ain't even funny.
Yeah, well said. Well, Tony, I cannot thank you enough, man. I love you to death. Outstanding stuff. And we'll talk soon, man.
Well, your father, again, is where it all began with you. And he's a man of incredible taste. Mike, what can I say? Thank you, brother. Good talking to you.
All right, Shane. So great stuff as always from Tony. I love having that guy on. Love just, he's just such a wacky, fun guy. But
Yeah, he is.
Someone I've always admired. I do his show often, and it's a treat, man. I do these shows all the time. Shane, I got another one here coming up. I've never been on a show with a guy where he had me on the line, and he's like, hold on, we got this other guy. He's going to rap for 20 minutes, and he's having callers come in and rap at me. I mean, it's a scene over there, brother.
I wonder what his stage name is. I was thinking about the music. How do I find him on Spotify? Has he got surely he doesn't go by Tony, I would think like Tebow or something.
T-Bone. He's a T-Bone, you know what?
Yeah.
But all right, hey, brother, I hate to cut you short, but I got to jump off here. I got to be on a call in 10 seconds here. You got anything before we hop offline? You better say no.
Nope. Jump on the YouTube, subscribe, and don't forget Flag Day. We're going to be live. Check us out on That SEC Podcast.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate each and every one of you. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right. See you guys. Go Vols.